Hey guys, hope you're all having a great week. This is Andrea from Cryptomaton and I have a bit of a special one. Today we're going to build a Bitcoin trading bot that buys Bitcoin every time the meme lord Elon Musk tweets about it. We know of his significant influence over the crypto world by the power of tweets, so we're going to build a Bitcoin trading bot that listens, follows him, and buys Bitcoin whenever he tweets. This is not financial advice. I'm not encouraging you to use this in a live environment. Use at your own risk, but I am encouraging you to have fun with it. So please subscribe to my channel for more awesome bot building guides, ideas, and sometimes memes. Thank you. Let's start by defining the parameters of our bot. We're only going to buy Bitcoin when Elon Musk mentions Bitcoin in a positive way. We're only going to have one active trade at a time, and we're going to be using 20% of our equity with a stop loss at 5% and a take profit at 10%. Stick around and let's jump into the code. Okay, so let's make a start by importing a few modules. Quick side note here, you will need a Twitter developer account in order to work with the Tweepy library. You will also need the MetaTrader account in order to connect to a trading terminal, but I'll leave all of these in the description. So let's start by importing Tweepy and importing the authentication handler from Tweepy. And next up, we're going to import the http.client in order to be able to make requests, and we're also going to import JSON in order to work with the data from the request. So you can see that you can import both of them in the same line just by separating them with a comma. Next up, we're going to import some dates modules, some helper modules like dates, iterators, and something called RE in order to clean our outputs. So from datetime, we're going to import datetime. And from itertools, we're going to import count. We're going to import time. And finally, we're going to import RE. Next up is the trading terminal. So I like they're all nicely spaced. Okay, so import MetaTrader 5 as MT5. And that's all the imports that you need. Now we're just jumping into creating variables and working with the modules that we are importing. So we're going to store the Twitter dev account credentials. We need a few variables for this. We need 4 variables. So create one called consumer key, and obviously this will be your consumer key. Consumer secret, which is going to contain your consumer secret. We're going to need an access key and an access secret as well. So create a variable called access key and create another variable called access secret. So these are all Twitter developer authentication keys which will be given once your Twitter developer account is going to be approved. So once you have created the variables, just double space it so that it's nice and neat, and create another variable called sentiment. And this is an API key required for the sentiment analysis. Remember, we're only going to buy Bitcoin if Elon Musk tweets about Bitcoin in a positive way. We don't want to get into a situation where Elon Musk says, well, that's it, Tesla doesn't believe in Bitcoin anymore, we're selling the whole lot. So we just want to capitalize on positive sentiment. Okay, so once you created your sentiment key, it's time to pass the Twitter credentials to the Tweepy authentication handler. So we're creating a variable called auth and giving it the value of Tweepy authentication handler function and in brackets consumer key, consumer secret. Now it's time to define the access tokens. So for the auth variable, we're going to set access token and then in brackets access key, comma, access secret. And now we're going to define the API. Create a variable called API with the value of tweepy.api auth. It sounds so, I should have called it authentication. It just sounds kind of weird to keep saying auth. It just loses its meaning after the fourth time. Anyway, so now it's time to connect to the MetaTrader 5 trading terminal. So this is what I'm using currently in order to test different trading bots. MetaTrader 5, I'm building a few bots in Binance as well. I just like that MetaTrader 5 natively integrates with Python, so it's really easy to work with and really easy to pick up as well. So we're going to start by initializing the MetaTrader 5 terminal with the mt5.initialize, and then we're going to store the account number for the MetaTrader 5 terminal. So this is located in the top left corner of the application. Quick side note, you will need a MetaTrader 5 account and you will need an application for it as well. Again, links will be down in the description, so set yourself up with those and follow along in the video, or pause the video, create the account, and then come back, or watch the guide. Everything works. I meant read the guide. Okay, so back into the code, we're going to check that we are now connected to the terminal. We're going to print that we have successfully connected to the account. Otherwise, if this statement is not true, then we're just going to print that we were unable to connect to the trading terminal, and we're also going to ask MetaTrader 5 to give us the last error that occurred. So this is pretty handy if you want to debug stuff. So inside the template literals, you just do squiggly brackets, I believe they're called, and do mt5.lastError and then function, so open and close normal round brackets. Cool, so what we want to do now is we're going to store the equity level. Remember, we're going to use 20% equity per trade, so we need to make sure that we have a way of accessing our account equity. So we do that by creating a variable called account_info and giving it the value of mt5.account_info. And we're going to have another quick conditional statement. If account info is none, then we're just going to raise a runtime error. Printing that we could not get the account equity levels. If the statement passes, then we're just going to quickly grab the account equity by creating a variable called equity and giving it the value of float account info at the index 10. So this is where the account equity level is stored in MetaTrader 5, is index 10. Once that's done, we're going to define the cryptocurrency symbol that we're going to be using. So we're going to use Bitcoin, and we're also going to define the keywords that we need to look out for. So those are not case sensitive, so you need to define, they are case sensitive, so you need to define the different types of keywords, so capitalized Bitcoin and so on. So create a variable called crypto and give it the value of BTC/USD. This is going to be used by the trading terminal to open trades, while the keywords list that we're creating now is going to be used by our API to look for tweets from Elon Musk matching any of these keywords. So you see, I'm giving it a few values like Bitcoin with capitalized B and non-capitalized and all caps, in order to make sure that I catch every tweet about Bitcoin. Once that's done, you can proceed to get the Techno King's last tweet. I think it's hilarious that Elon Musk proclaimed himself Techno King of Tesla. It's quite edgy, but yeah. Anyway, so create a function called get Elon's tweet, and then underneath the function, we're going to just quickly define what the function will do in order to keep everything nice and tidy in our code. So we're grabbing Elon's last tweet based on his Twitter ID. So this is not the username. Twitter uses a unique user ID as well, which is a string of numbers, and you can find this. There's a website where you can just input the user's ID and it will convert it. The username will convert it to the user ID. So once you got your description done, just create a new variable called tweets and give this the value of tweepy.cursor is the function that we're going to use in order to find the last tweet. And then API full stop user underscore timeline. That's one parameter. It's looking through the user's timeline. And I saved his ID. I'm just going to copy and paste it in. So the ID is 441-96397. That's Elon Musk's unique Twitter ID. Okay, and the next parameter is the date. So we're going to say date.today. And finally, we're going to define how we want these tweets to be retrieved. So we're choosing tweet mode extended, which means we want the whole tweet. And finally, the items tells us how many items we want Tweepy to retrieve. In this case, we only want the last tweet, so items 1 is what we need. Now the next step is to remove all the invalid characters. I had some issues with things like emojis not being able to be decoded by UTF-8. So we're just going to remove all the invalid characters to make sure that we can analyze and we can work with the data coming from the Tweepy API. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called Elon's last tweet, which equals re, the module which we imported, dot sub. And then in this sub, we're going to define that we only want alphanumeric characters. So the syntax is A, Z, and then lowercase a, dash Z, 0, dash 9. So this pretty much tells us, I want you to give me the tweet in a format that only contains alphanumeric characters and nothing else. So anything else will be replaced by a space. And the last parameter here is going to be tweet.fulltext. For tweet in tweets, because Tweepy returns it as a list, so we're just quickly iterating through the list even though we have one element. Okay, so here's the thing that I noticed while I was testing this out. It turns out that Tweepy doesn't always return a tweet even though one exists, so it would just return just an empty list. So the way I went around that is to get it to keep checking until it retrieves a tweet. So we do that by creating a while loop and saying while not Elon's last tweet, and then we just copy and paste the whole code again. So while Elon's last tweet does not exist, we want to create it again. And yeah, that's it. That's how we get Elon's last tweet. So we're going to return Elon's last tweet. Cool, so we're about halfway through the code actually. Next function will analyze the sentiment of the tweet. So now that we have the tweet, we need to find out whether it's a positive, neutral, or negative tweet. So we do that by creating a new function called analyze_sentence. Again, give it an easy description just to understand what the function does. So we determine whether Elon's tweet is positive or negative. So what we're going to do now is we will call the get Elon's tweet, because this function returns the last tweet. So we can store the last tweet in a variable called tweet by calling get Elon's tweet. And now we need to format this request. So we're posting the tweet to another API which checks the sentiment of this of the tweet. So we need to do con equal http.client.https connection. When I recorded, I didn't realize that it's HTTPS, so the code will throw an error at some point, but I will correct that. HTTPS connection, and then text-sentiment.p.rapidapi.com. And in payload, we're going to define what we want to send to this API. So the way the payload is structured, it starts with text equals. So that's the basic nature of the payload structure. So we do text plus tweet in order to comply with the way it expects us to send the data. And then we create a new variable called headers, where we define the headers that this API requires. So this is all like I'm writing it here, but it's actually all available in the Rapid API library for this API, and it's actually pretty good because it doesn't have any API limitations. You can call it as many times as you want. Again, this will be in the description along with the MetaTrader 5 and the Twitter developer account resources. So don't worry if you're not getting all of this, it will make sense. Everything is in the description. So do x-rapid API key equals the sentiment key. So this is the variable which has our key, our sentiment API key. And finally x-rapid API host. And this is text-sentiment.p.rapidapi.com. Cool, so once you have formatted the request, now it's time to post the request to the API. So we're going to say con.request is going to be post, followed by the analyze, followed by /analyze, and the payload and the headers. And now what we need to do is collect the response from the API. So create a variable called res or response, and this equals con get response. And now we need to get the raw tweet, and the raw tweet equals res.read. And now we need to convert this response, this raw tweet, to JSON. So JSON tweet, new variable, equals JSON loads, open brackets, and in the brackets put your raw tweet. And now we want this whole function to return us the JSON version of the response. And out of this response, we get the positive. So you see I did an index called POS, which stands for positive in the API. And now for the last function, we need a new function that will do the trading. So create a function called trade and give it a description. What we're going to do here is we'll check that the keywords exist in Elon's last tweet and place a trade if the sentiment is positive. If the sentiment is not positive, the code will not do anything. Okay, so for this part, we need to do a logic check at the beginning of the function, followed by a trading request. using the MetaTrader 5 trading request. Okay, so first of all, we need to get the tweet. So we're going to get what Musk said. That's the variable which will contain our last tweet. And then we're going to analyze the sentiment. So we do tweet sentiment equals analyze sentence. So we just call the two functions that we defined above. And now we need to check if a trade has already been placed. Actually, we need to prepare to make sure that when we do perform the trading request, there are no active trades at the moment. So there's just one trade at a time, as we've defined it at the beginning of the video. So we're going to create a variable called positions and give this the value of mt5.positions_get symbol equals crypto, which is BTC USD. Orders represents how many orders are currently open with this symbol, so which will be used later on to check whether we can place a trade or not. And the symbol info variable, which will contain the symbol information for our BTC USD crypto. Finally, we need to get a price as well, so we're getting the current price, and this is equal to mt5.symbol_info_tick crypto.bid. So this tells us that we want the bid price because we're placing a buy trade. If we were going to place a sell position, we would have asked for the ask price, as that is representative of a sell position. So the difference between the bid and the ask price is the spread. Quick fun fact. Okay, back to the code now. It's time to perform our logic check. So what we're doing is we're creating a conditional statement saying if any keyword out of those keywords that we have defined above in what Musk said, which is the tweet, for keyword in keywords in our keywords list. So this is checking against all of the keywords. It's checking Elon's tweet against all of the keywords one by one from our keywords list. And then we're adding another conditional statement. We're saying and tweet sentiment is higher than 0. So the sentiment of the tweet, the positive sentiment of the tweet can have a value of between 0 and 1. And if it's higher than 0, then that means it is positive to some extent according to this API. If that's true, we're going to print the mad lad said it, we're buying some. Otherwise, we're just going to print that the tweet does not contain the keyword or the sentiment is not positive enough, and we're going to log that to the console in order to make it easy for us to troubleshoot and figure out what's happening. Once this part of the conditional logic is done, we can start preparing the trading request. So you can see that I put the if-else statement, though I have not yet completed the second part of the else. We'll get back to it in a second. So for now, we're just going to create another conditional statement saying if not mt5.initialize function, we're going to raise a runtime error. So again, the same as we did with getting the account equity, we want to make sure that we are connected to the trade terminal. If we're not connected to the trade terminal, then we will not be able to proceed with the trading request. So in that case, we're just raising a runtime error, could not connect to the account, and we're asking MetaTrader 5 to give us the last error code. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we need to check whether there are any open positions or orders for BTC USD. So we can do this by creating a quick conditional statement and checking that the length of the positions list is equivalent to 0 and the length of the orders list is smaller than 1. So for some reason MetaTrader 5 couldn't work with the length of orders equivalent to 0, so it turns out that smaller than 1 does the trick. So if that matches, that means that we can place a trade, essentially, because we have no positions and no orders placed on BTC/USD at the moment. So I'm just writing another quick conditional statement. If symbol info is none, we're going to print we could not connect to we could not find the symbol that we're looking for. So what this means is we are unable to pull information for our symbol, so it's a good error to have in case we might have used a wrong symbol that's unavailable with the trading terminal. So it's good to keep as a debugging console message. Okay, so also if that happens, then we'll shut down the terminal. So back to the bigger if statement, the parent if statement above the previous one. In the else condition, we're going to print that a keyword has been detected, since we are already inside of the conditional statement for the logic check, but there are currently a number of active trades. So by printing len positions to the console, it will tell us how many active trades there are. So this statement will let us know that yes, the logic has worked. We found the keyword, we found the matching sentiment, but we have an active trade, so we're not going to place an order right now. And now back to the parent if conditional statement, where if we're not able to pass the logic check, we're going to print that a keyword has not been found or the sentiment is not positive enough. We're also going to ask to return the tweet so that we can check that indeed the tweet is not does not contain the keyword Bitcoin. With that out of the way, it's time to do the trading request. So for the trading request, MetaTrader 5 expects a certain standardized structure, which I have already put together. So I'm just going to go and copy that in here. So as you can see, the request has been added. And I have made a few modifications myself, but the most of the request is the same as per the documentation of the MetaTrader 5 terminal, so you can get this yourself from there, or actually from the GitHub repository, which I have added to the description of this video. Cool, so you can see that the lot, this represents 20% equity actually, not just 5. If you want 5%, you need to divide that by 20. Now we have the stop loss there, which says price times 5 divided by 100, and take profit, price plus price times 10 divided by 100. And inside of the request, we're defining the cryptocurrency, the lot, the price, the stop loss, and the take profit as well. And that's pretty much it. All we need to do now is we need to make sure that the code is executed every 5 seconds, so that we're never missing a tweet, and that when it does execute, it will be quick, and it will execute in a matter of seconds. So we do that by creating a conditional statement if name equals main. So if the name of this file is actually the main file, which it is because we only have one Python file, we're going to press Ctrl+C or Ctrl+Q to stop. So you can actually use this shortcut to stop the code from iterating. I use Atom, and Atom uses Ctrl+Q, but I know some other Python compilers may use Ctrl+C in order for you to stop the code. We create one simple loop for I in count. We call the function trade, and then we print the number of the iteration I. And we let it sleep for 5 seconds in between every attempt. And that's it. I'm just going to try and run this code. So we did have an error, and it was the error related to the HTTP client. It should be HTTPS client, and we only called it as HTTP. So I'm just going to correct that now and then rerun the code, and fingers crossed that it will work. And it does. Okay, so what you can see here is the fact that a keyword was not found or a sentiment was not positive enough, but we did pull the tweet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this to check that this is indeed Elon Musk's last tweet. And now you're seeing multiple iterations because it's checking it every 5 seconds. Okay, and that does seem to be Elon Musk's last tweet, so the functionality works. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great week, and if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to support me, please share this video and maybe read my blog. Until next time.